I do not believe what Jeremy Taché just alleged. I will have to check the video proof, but he is saying that last night, Myers-Leonard of the Milwaukee Bucks, because Caleb Martin made a three and Myers-Leonard is a bit of a meathead, he stood up and held up three fingers because he forgot which team he was on. He forgot in the Heat arena that he was no longer a Miami Heat member.
Damning video.
He could have maybe throwing up his hands to say, hey, play better defense, but it did look like he had three fingers.
And then he kind of sits down awkwardly.
That's a little awkward. Been a long couple of years for
do you think
three fingers is a dangerous gesture for that player in particular?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
A lot
Absolutely.
of random people on the Buck bench. Goran Dragic. That was a weird one for me to say.
Well said.
Randomly, who do you think he's rooting for? Because I'm telling you, he looked last night. I'm telling you, Jeremy. I had a source at arena last night tell me that Goran walked in and was saying hi to all Heat people. All the Heat people. It definitely wasn't Jeremy who told that. It was a different source.
I want to see video of that Jerry West game where someone made, I guess there were no threes then, but I have to think of a three and a foul and him holding up his hand and not being confused about whether it's holding up a four or not. Because we were just talking, Mike Schur, about Jerry West playing a game with two broken thumbs, and we were imagining that he had to have had 30 turnovers in that game because you cannot play a basketball game at the professional level.
It was very much a catch and shoot scenario for
He had
Jerry
37
West
and
in that
18
game.
assists away.
We were power ranking fingers. Like,
Yeah, I heard that, and I'm Pablo's side here. The thumb,
thank you.
famously, the most important finger in all scenarios.
About least important.
I mean, we're talking pinky.
Ring finger, probably.
Ring.
No, I
Blow.
think ring finger for shooting a basketball. I think a ring finger.
But what about
Great-
for everything
great
else?
conversation,
But what
though.
about for everything else?
What are we talking about? What's the most important
gotta
finger
lose a
besides
finger.
thumb?
You have
Yeah,
to
what is a pinky
you-
good? Flicking it and then flattening your eyebrow? What else it's doing?
It's opposing the thumb. It's on the other side of the
Seriously,
thumb for
what's happening?
stability. You need a pinky. Like you need a pink toe for balance.
You
need a pinky
over replacement finger. The pinky. That ring can do all the opposing stuff. I just need the thumb.
How did you experience last night as a national hater of the Miami Heat, Mike Schur?
What do you mean? How did I experience it? I've been telling you this was going to happen from months and months. You know, here's what happened last night. The Heat proved me right and all of you mokes wrong, except for the only two rational people at Meadowlark
That's
Media.
right.
Parakeet Cortez and Jeremy Taché.
What?
The only two sane, rational people in that entire company. Like, I demand a public apology from all of you jamokes. All of you except for Parakeet and Tasha owe me a public apology for doubting me and saying your team wasn't going to do anything in the playoffs. Now, I want it now, publicly.
No,
now.
I'll not do it until they've actually won the series. I will apologize to.
Haven't they already proved me correct? Haven't
Not when
what was I
no,
saying?
Not by winning one home game that they were trailing by double digits the entire time and had an unprecedented fourth quarter from an unprecedented player. The first three games of the series, they were up 2-1 because Giannis didn't play. Like that, I mean, it's not irrelevant.
It's the point is, I've been saying since the middle of the season, the team I didn't want to play in the playoffs was the Miami Heat, and you all laughed at me.
You'd rather
it was
play
He's
the
right,
Sixers.
dude.
You'd rather play the Sixers.
Of course I would. Of course. Are you kidding? Of course I would. I'd rather play the Bucks. I want the Bucks to win. I would rather play any team. It's that collection of lunatics that runs around crypto arena and wins games they have no business winning, which they've done all year. They practice the dark arts. They are not a normal basketball team.
They haven't done it all year. They've lost half of
Mike,
their games.
Mike, to his credit, has most consistently been the guy in the horror movie who is warning everybody that the killer is coming, and everyone's just like laughing at him.
Yes. I've been doing this publicly on your little show. I've been doing it privately in texts.
So many texts.
So many texts
Mike
to
Schur
so many
about
people. Yes, and I've done it when they've lost table games. I've done it when they've looked like they had no business being anywhere in the playoffs. I did it after they lost. After they lost the first play-in game, I was like, thank God, get them out of my face. I don't want to face them. Like I don't know what else I can do to prove to you that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to your team.
Put me next to you as the fourth quarter is happening, and as a basketball aficionado and observer, explain to me what you saw from Jimmy Butler last night, historical context.
Saw what I knew I was going to see. which was against all odds, defiantly in the face of logic and reason. Duncan Robinson, who forgot how to shoot 3 years ago, hit 3 threes in 4 minutes, and every loose ball goes their way, and Jimmy Butler can't miss. And I watched it with like a sad resignation, with like a sort of knowing, nodding, and like a shrug of the shoulders, because it's exactly what I thought was going to happen. They were up, whatever it was, 11 in the fourth quarter, and I left to walk my dogs, and my wife to me, do you want to watch the rest of the game? And I said to her, I'm not kidding, no, I know what's going to happen. And I came back and looked at my phone, and there were 8 people texting me saying, OMG, what happening, what a collapse. And I had no reaction. I'm dead inside, and I had no reaction at all. My face betrayed no emotion as I nodded sadly at what was unfolding, which is exactly what I knew was going to unfold.
And this right here is why my cat's name is Mo.
Mike, you're not allowed to be surprised by a Wilt Chamberlain 56-point.
Why? I go check the tape, Le Batard. How many? Like, what am I saying? How much more do I have to do to prove to you I knew that was going to happen? Go back and check the tape. I'm saying it for months.
Mike, you can't be unsurprised by him having no help and scoring 56 efficiently.
He's telling you he was, though.
But you're not allowed to be unsurprised by that. Because how many games have you ever seen that look like ever?
What difference does that make when I told you it was going to happen?
There's only
You're the one who's not allowed to be saying this to me. I can say this to you.
There's only one way to settle this, Mike. Let's take a vote. Can he be surprised or cannot be surprised? I vote that he doesn't have to be surprised. He doesn't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On the damn poll.
Yeah.
Is Mike Shore allowed to be surprised?
I was texting Mike like fun photos from the game again that I went to over with Samson and Juju and Taylor, and he was just giving the thumbs down emoji response constantly. It was sad.
Every single text, thumbs down. It's down to all of it.
Let's go ahead and do the stat of the day.
Start of the day.
No one else voted.
It is start of the day. Start of the day. Start of the day. It is start of the day. Start of the day. Start of the day. It is start of the day. Start of the day. Start of the day. It is start of the day.
You know what I want? I just figured I want. Take the Amin Knows Basketball intro and dub in Juju's voice saying Mike Shore over Amin. That's what I want. That's what I want this intro to be now.
Can you be clear on what's happened in this series? Go ahead and say it now since you're unsurprised. Go ahead and tell me what's going to happen the rest of the series.
The Bucks are going to win Game 5, and then they're going to go back to Miami. The Bucks will be up 8 points with 6 minutes left, and then the Heat will win. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
What's the stat of the day?
Well, Tuesday, that means it's time for Sports Roundup Tuesday. We do this every Tuesday on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. Sports Roundup. Here's some interesting things since the last time I talked to you. The Tampa Bay Rays are now 14 and at home to start the year. That is the longest home win streak to start the season, according to the great Sarah Langs on Twitter. The last team to start 14-0 at home at the beginning of the year, of course, it's the 1886 Detroit Marines, led by Pretzel Getzian, Lady Baldwin, and Phenomenal Smith. They're incredible pitch half. Those are all real names.
Mike, what's shaking your head no about those are real names?
He made all of us up.
No, they're not made
Pretzels?
up. No, they're not. They're not.
Phenomenal?
Well, Pretzels
No.
has got to be a nickname.
Sounds like Joe Biden fans.
Pretzels
Pretzel
is
Getzian, Phenomenal
Corn
Smith, Lady Baldwin. That was their pitching half. They also had McGeechee, you remember him, of course. Ned Hanlon, Hardy Richardson, Deacon White, Dan Brothers. The Wolverines, 18H Wolverines. You guys remember that.
I keep sending Mike Shore just screenshots of 4th inning, Rays up 8th inning in every game they're playing.
Every game. Also on your sports show, the Kings, my beloved Kings, came 1 Harrison Barnes 3 away from lighting the beam in San Francisco. That was painful. The Detroit Bruins won a pivotal Game 4 in front of a revved-up home crowd at TD Garden. Those Bruins home ice fans are really something, aren't they, guys? I mean, I would not want to be visiting team at TD Garden for a playoff game like the Panthers were in Game 4. Man, that is a hostile environment over there at TD Garden. So many fans screaming so loudly, chanting. Woof.
Thanks, Mike.
Tough environment for the Panthers to play on the road like that. But here's the craziest thing that happened. Yesterday, the Twins beat the Yankees 6-1. Twins and Yankees already played 5 times this year. The Twins 3-2. So here's what's happened. The Twins have chances to clinch the series against the Yankees. They haven't won a season series against the Yankees since 2001. That is their only series win against the Yankees since 1993. Since the year 2002, Twins are 41-100 against the Yankees, which is .291 winning percentage. In that same time frame, the Detroit Lions have a .358 winning percentage. So for 2 decades, the Twins have played the Yankees worse than the Lions have played the rest of the league in football.
Mike, good talking to you. I'm sorry. I'm going to say goodbye. The entire group was not listening to you at all because Stephen A. Smith was doing his top 5 list of all-time NBA playoff performances.
A-list.
And they were hoping that Jimmy Butler would be number 1. Alas, wasn't in the top 5. 63, Michael, number 1. Jay Glazer's going to be on with us here in a moment. And since, Stugotz, you're so interested in the draft and you're covering the holy hell out of it on God Bless Football, what are things beyond quarterbacks that you're interested in? Is it just the general draft is here and I get to celebrate football in April?
Just the draft. I mean, that's really what I'm interested in. Mel and Todd and
big boards.
The big boards, the mock draft. Chris Berman taking you through draft nights. He's still doing it? I'm not sure. Yeah.
Best available.
Outfits, the hugging of Roger Goodell, the
Who
handshake.
Aaron Rodgers is going to tell the Jets to take with 15th pick in the first round. I mean, this is going to be exciting.
Who tied signs to pitch their product the week before. All these things.
Walking from the green room to the stage.
Who believes in Richardson? Who believes in Levis? I mean, it's amazing.
The fourth thing that you mentioned as being most interesting to you, is it a thing that we know is still happening? Chris Berman still involved with the NFL draft coverage in any way whatsoever?
If he's not, he should be.
They're like three people removed. It was Wingo after Berman. And now
I think
Wingo's
Berman,
gone.
I'm pretty certain Berman came back and started doing it again because Greeny hosts everything.
No, it was Greeny. Last year was Greeny. It was well before that.
Well, Greeny's doing the playoffs.
You were
now,
wait.
right?
You were thinking that Greeny couldn't host everything?
Berman comes back for the Super Bowl, like the Super Bowl celebration, post-game Super Bowl. That's what Berman does.
Right. Yeah. We'll see.
Glazer loves this time of year in a way that I do not. So, you guys got your questions? You got your questions fired up for Jay? What kind of secret information can he give us? It's lying season, Jay. It's always nice seeing you. Thank you for making the time. As always, what's the good information you've got at quarterback? Tell us because.
Well, obviously, one, it's Bryce Young. That's where they're going. I think, people are trying to smoke right now that they're not. And that's really, there's a big drop off for everybody. Kind of everybody's worried it was Bryce Young first. And then even though he's got a small frame, but it's interesting because like Houston at 2, that's the guy they wanted. They weren't able to move for him. That's who Carolina wanted. That's who the Raiders wanted. That's who everybody kind of wanted him. And when they, get in the sweepstakes with the Bears, there's a big drop off over there. So like 2 right now. I know today they're going to have their own mock draft in Houston and try to figure out what to do. And I think at this point, too, you try and almost fall with someone, especially when you're that position. If you can't trade out. Now, people are going to try and trade out. There's going to be a lot of that. I just don't see a lot of teams trying to really move up at this point to the top 3. But, things change here in the next 48 hours.
Jay, a mock draft with the number 2 pick seems odd, right?
Very exciting.
Weird.
A what? A mock draft when you have the number pick?
Yeah, like Bryce Young's on the board. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Draft
so
done.
then you got everybody else, except that your guy gone. Yeah. So no, you kind of.
Damn it! We wanted Young, and they all fall to their knees as a friend. What do we do?
What I say about a mock is that they'll have different people in the room kind of give what they want, who they do. So you have obviously C.J. Stroud, you have Will Levis, you have Richardson, you have 2 defensive ends over there. Jalen Carter. So it's not just Morris. It's not just Nick Caserio. Okay, this is who I. So you kind of you do that, and everybody does their mock drafts. Here's the crazy thing about the draft, gang. You'd think that like everybody has stuff done up to this point, and things change. I'll give you a story here. Like Dallas Cowboys one year, they tell me, hey, we're going Sean Merriman. That's our guy. Sean Merriman. The night before that, I said, you guys still on Merriman? Yep, we're on Merriman. Draft day, they wake up, they call, and they said, we're going to come off Sean Merriman today. We're going to go to DeMarcus Ware. Like, what happened the last 360 days? And they literally changed that day. And that happens a lot. It happens when guys are on the clock. That's why whenever you see mock drafts, they're completely full of shit because these guys know what they're doing, and they change so much in these last, 72, 48, 24 hours. It's amazing how much change happens. And I think a lot of it, George Young, the great Young, used to have a line, paralysis by overanalysis. You think you have everything set, then you start, let's go back in and start questioning some more, and questioning some more, and then all of a sudden you flop on what you're trying to do.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju at Le Batard Show. Can you say George Young without saying the great George Young?
That's my guy.
Yeah,
Let me tell you something about George Young.
Yeah,
okay?
please.
When I started this business, right, man, I was getting crushed, especially by people Giants, because I was covering the Giants. George Young would protect me, but George Young, when I first covered the NFL, George never had a drop of alcohol in his life. And Dan, you know me, I'm not the one who's going to wake up early and have coffee. I'm the guy who's going to be there with everybody at the bar until 4 in the morning. And George Young would stay with me at the owners' meeting in the bar till it closes, just validate me to everybody else. And hey, he's a good kid. You could trust him. So that is my guy forever.
The great George Young.
There you go.
Yes.
The greatest.
Jay, you don't think the Texans are actually going to pass on a quarterback, right? There's no way they think Davis Mills is the answer.
No, I don't think they think Davis Mills the answer either. But it's kind of, if you're not in love with the guys, then you're stuck with who you're not in love with. And, the problem, too, is like the rushers, like Will Anderson, that guy's a coach out there. He's phenomenal, but he's not a quick twitch guy. He's probably not going to get you 15 sacks a year. And then, you have the tech, out the back or edge rusher. The questions marks on him also. So to have that second pick, especially where Nick Caserio sitting right now, because I think I don't know if his season's getting warm or not, but there are a lot of rumblings there. I think he's got a lot of pressure to do this. Listen, he had a chance to trade up for that first pick, and it happened. And I think there's a lot of pressure on that as well. So you don't screw this one up, but if you're not totally in love with someone, that's where you get stuck.
Jay, NFL insiders seem to all have multiple phones. How many phones do you have? What's the minimum number of phones that an NFL insider is required to have?
I used to have more than one. I got one now, and one of them it was an untraceable number that actually, I shouldn't say traceable. It went to like some poor lady in Arkansas who would like people try and like if anybody ever was trying to like trace my number or whatever, or got that number and called there or somehow it didn't come to me. Let's just say that.
Does that woman have a lot of breaking NFL news?
Can we call that woman?
That she does not want.
Well, no, it was my phone number, but it just traced to her. So we tried to trace it. Listen, I had that when I had a Spygate video, and I thought I was sure back then my phones were being and they were trying to get. I was kind of looking at like the head of security for the NFL, part of the Messiah. He freaking was not. Not close, but I was powered as shit back then.
Jay, when we go off air, stay with us. We can get that number and we can call. We can ask that.
I don't have it anymore.
I want to have her on. It's on the phone. Yeah.
When you're
I had two, man. We had a phone and a BlackBerry. And then early on, you'd have a pager and shoot. I'm kind of dating myself, but now I'm just down to one.
When you answer the phone, when you're reporting on a story, do you answer unknown numbers? If you do, do you have a different voice that you answer with? Because I do.
No, I don't answer unknown phone numbers. And none of my guys. Well, I shouldn't say that. Two of my guys have phone numbers or no caller ID, but I know exactly who it is, and I know when they're going to call.
But if you're a little unsure, do you go?
Nope.
Doesn't answer.
I don't answer.
Jay,
hello.
The most interesting team and the most interesting player in the draft.
Most interesting player in the draft is Andy Richardson, because it's you either hit huge or you completely miss. And I don't know the answer to that. We don't know how he's going to develop, but there's a lot to be excited about there if you could hit with him. By the way, I also love Hendon Hooker. I think a lot more than most. And most interesting team. The draft starts at 2. That's because you could take any one of 4 players or trade out. They're going to try and get out of that spot. And who kind of goes at these quarterbacks and where, because Seattle could have one, the Raiders could have one, the Colts obviously have one, Houston could have one. We already know about Carolina. A bunch of teams also later on down. The Bucs take one later on in the draft. I think there's going to be a lot of teams who pick up quarterbacks in the first 3 rounds that you may even think are going to.
Congratulations, by the way. I meant to tell you this on the front end on your engagement because you look at you. You're beaming over there. You have merged.
It'll go away.
Wow.
Fuck you.
But your journey, it's been a public one. It's been a fascinating one. You have come to grips with vulnerability and sharing. Unbreakable is the name of his book, How I Turned Depression and Anxiety into Motivation, and you can too. Unbreakable is also the name of his podcast. He believes that mental health help is the reason that he is here with a platform to say important things to people who need it. We've got a couple of minutes left, but since we talked to you last, where's Unbreakable, the podcast, gone? A place you didn't expect people they talked to who opened it up.
My God, now getting people just walking over me on the streets and, man, thank you so much. I now know how to talk to my wife. You're giving the word so I could talk to my wife about it. I didn't know how to do, or my kid has ADD. I didn't really understand it so much. And now I do because of your book and your podcast. And just, the way I've been able to, I tell you the biggest difference. You see, I'm beaming. I've lost 25 pounds because I finally found love for the first time in my life. I didn't push someone away. I didn't sabotage it. And you're living in the blue. And I made that decision too. Like, I'm going to exist in the blue. And man, all this inflammation comes out of you. I'm happy. And I know now too, I went through that. I went through my deepest, darkest times for 53 years. And I'm here to show everybody it's never too late to find happiness and find that blue. It's rough when you exist it, but you just can't give up. Got to keep going through. So giving it words, Dan, has been, and the amount of people reach out when we do this show saying, man, thank you so much for being someone that's giving it words, that's showing me I'm not alone. Shit, I thought it was just me who was going something like this. And now I know not just me, I'm not alone. And again, we talk mental health, but we don't give it enough words.
Chris Cody said blue is a sad color to him. We're out of time, unfortunately.
It ain't to me, baby. It is a sad color to me. Blue, I want to exist.
Jay, good talking to you again. I recommend Breakable, the book and podcast. We will check in with you after the draft, sir. Football information is great.
Absolutely.
Other work you're doing is inspirational.
Hey, quick too, hosting the first round on Sports Radio Thursday night. So if you're in your car, tune in. You get more insight than anywhere else.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
possible that we as a country can't do better than this? How is it possible that all we can get is late 70s, early 80s? Please lead us out of the apocalypse.
It's not great that we seem to be existing in a gerontocracy in general.
Hate those.
A what?
You know.
Jeff Jarvis joins us now. He's a longtime advisor to major media companies. He's a journalism professor at City University of New York. And I wanted to talk to him about many things, but one of them being yesterday's Tucker Carlson news. Thank you for being on with us.
So I guess I'm the gerontology segment here. You have the old guys in, you have the guy with the white hair coming in. But thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Well, before we get to Tucker Carlson, can you explain to me the question I just asked Pablo, but perhaps polysyllabically? Highfalutin, can you explain to us why the hell does America have the leadership it deserves, and why can't America do better than this?
It's a good question, yes, but I'll take the word that I have. I'll take Joe Biden now versus the risk of not knowing what it's going to be. He's beat the fascist work before. He could do it again. He's old. I like Kamala too. If he retires at some point and she takes over, we get used to the idea of a black woman in the White House. That wouldn't be so bad either.
Who's we? Because I don't think that the country, the entire country, would agree with you on that. There seems to be a real division here that is unmistakable, and more of a division than I thought we had when we started all this nonsense a few years ago.
You could call it a division, but I think what's really going on is that we saw the internet-enabled voices who were for too long ignored and represented and not served in mass media run by people who look like me, old white men, that finally had their place, their voice online. And that is what the old guard, the old white guard of America resented. And Barack Obama winning the presidency brought all that out. Trump gave him permission to be racist in public. So did Fox News. And what I think we really saw is that the internet and Black Lives Matter and was a reformation, a racial reformation in America. Trump and January 6th and Fox are the counter-reformation, trying to hold on for dear life to the power that they know they're going to lose and should lose.
Jeff, I do wonder all the time, especially after the midterms, which again, to credit Joe Biden there with steering the ship towards that outcome. But the point being, I always wonder whether the memes, like it feels like the culture war memes, whether that stuff, that internet stuff is actually translating to electoral results. And if that in fact is the match Joe Biden, that he is so not somebody who is swimming and fluent in internet warfare, whereas that seems to be where the right, the Republican Party, has over-indexed.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he floats above it. But at this point, what's abortion but the biggest meme ever? Racism, but I hate to say it, but now it's degraded as a meme. And so if we look at it that way, I think that when it comes to the majority of America, Biden's on the winning side. Knock wood, I'll light a candle.
Let's get to the Tucker Carlson portion of this. What does it mean that Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon have hired the same attorney?
All losers. I don't know. I don't want to put the same boat otherwise. I think that there are times trying to turn them into a trend. Hey, cable's in uproar. These are different things. We don't really know why Tucker Carlson fired. I think the suit by his former producer is probably a large part of this. I think they couldn't fire him before they settled the Dominion case because it would have put them in a weaker position. Maybe they wanted to fire him months ago. I don't know. He was costing money. He's embarrassing them. And thank goodness he's gone. That doesn't mean the Fox News is going to reform in any way. It is still run by the single most malign influence in English language democracy, Rupert Murdoch, his worst son, Lachlan. So we'll see where that goes. Don Lemon was a goofball in some ways, and he and Chris Licht, the new head of CNN, getting along. And
best guess on what happened with Tucker Carlson. Best guess on whether this came succession style straight from the top.
Oh, yeah, I think everything comes to the top at Murdoch land. It's Fox News. He's the boss. He's still in charge, speaking of gerontology. And they said that Lachlan and the president of Fox decided this. No. Bert called with his gruff voice and said, it's time to get rid of him. And they did. And, good. I celebrate with everybody else. But something worse will probably go in his place. I don't know what that's going to be. Do you have any guess about what they could actually do?
Well, you're the expert here. I was going to ask you, who do they, because they did this with Glenn Beck, they did it with Bill O'Reilly, they did it with Tucker Carlson. The entity is stronger than the people that it makes. So do you have a best guess? Because I don't have an informed opinion on this.
No, I don't. I think Sarah Palin could have been at a time, but she's gone.
Brett
Hannity
Favre
could move up. It could be any number of horrible members of Congress today who would quit to take the slot. Who knows? The other question is, what's next for Tucker? Does he go Glenn Beck and do his own show? Does he follow your example? And you're supporting, I think, 25 people on the payroll there. So this could be okay. Or does he run for president, which is truly frightening because God knows he could win.
Seriously?
The same Trump could win in the same insanity of the slave-based.
I believe he could win. I believe he could win. I'm with Jeff on that. Tucker Carlson's a terrifying candidate. More terrifying than Ron DeSantis, certainly, given the way that DeSantis has campaigned, which is to say incompetently and uncharismatically. Tucker is charismatic to his base.
Well, wait a minute. If that's the case, then is this like Trump being indicted, where if that's the play, then this is good for him?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. When you're dealing in the land of paranoia, you need enemies, and Tucker has enemies now. His old friends and employers are now enemies too. He's already said he hates Trump. So he can go back on that and hate again. I'm not saying he will win or would win, but I agree he could win in the sane system we have.
Has there been anybody with this resume of fired by Fox, fired by CNN, fired by MSNBC?
The thing about it is the people who fired the hat trick. Megyn Kelly got fired by 2, right? 3. I don't think so. I think he may be champ. But again, more enemies. Mass media hates. Mass media can't stand me because I tell the truth about testicles. You got to trust me, says Tucker.
He tells the truth about testicles?
Well, you remember when he was getting them sunburned and doing that.
Oh, that's right. That was her name, I think, technically.
No, use the fancy, educated word. I'll call it ball sack. That's what he was doing.
He said of Trump, I hate him passionately. That was disclosed some of the private texts that emerged from the Dominion lawsuit. Do we know how Tucker Carlson feels about Murdoch and his sons?
Oh, he was sucking up to them because they were the bosses. And as we saw, if they didn't like you, they got rid of you. But now it doesn't matter. Tucker Carlson doesn't leave anything. He is a chameleon. He changes shape and color to the need of the moment for him to get attention and money. And so he loved the Murdochs a week ago. He hates them now. It's nothing, Tucker.
Were you surprised by what happened yesterday?
Absolutely. I will admit it. I think the worst thing that journalists do is predict things. We're really crappy at it. We're wrong most of the time, and it's not our job. But this one, I never would have predicted to get rid of Tucker. That's why I'm thinking that it might be something that we don't know out of the suit. Abby Gold has, I think, 80 recordings of him. It could be bad stuff. Or that could all be the excuse. They wanted to get rid of him. He was too much he had too much power. It's the other way to look at it. Tucker was too successful for the Murdochs.
Did you think he was fireable?
Anybody in the Murdoch world is. Disclosure, I worked for them years and years ago as the TV critic and TV guy. And they still owned that poor little old institution. It is a seat-of-the-pants Australian macho company where they make decisions like that. They don't have task forces. They don't think things through. They just do it. So yes, anybody fired there.
You don't think this results in anything, not even a fraction of appreciable change at Fox? Nothing.
No, because it's still Fox. They'll act like it. They come out with the Dominion case. They managed to get through that. It was worth $750 million not to apologize, to say that they still uphold the standards of journalism, which is bull. No, it just depends on whether or not they're going to be pro-Trump, pro someone else. The crazy thing that happened is they could endorse Tucker for president. That's the way they are. They are also nihilistic, cynical comedians.
Do you think this nets out, though, Jeff, with Fox News being pulled even further towards the extreme right? Because they're going to have to compete with Tucker, who's going to campaign effectively, and the fact that he was too real for the alleged home for real America.
I think that's a brilliant point. I think that's exactly right. Where a lot of the commentators are saying, well, now Fox will calm down. No evidence of that at all. I think we looked at the desperation had through what we learned in Dominion, and they're always afraid of audience being pulled away. People ask, how do we get Fox? What do we want Fox? Add boycotts. Doesn't really affect much, because what really happens is he's part of the bundle in cable, must carry fee where they get their money as long as they stay there. And what cable company is going to have guts to get rid of them, continue to make a lot of money? And they can use whoever they want to that. And so to be talked about and to get the audience, you're right. They have to go even more extreme, which is what every Republican politician is doing now. They're going as extreme as they can. Who else insult? But in the budget talks, taking away money from veterans. Veterans used to be sacrosanct, not to the right anymore.
Rapid fire. Let's do top 5 worst Tucker Carlson moments. We have less than a minute left, so we got to do this quickly. Number 5, Jeff.
I already used my 5, which is toasted testicles. So I'll say replacement theory is number 5. Number 4 is when January 6th was orderly and sane. Number 3 was vaccination laws are the equivalent of Jim Crow. Number 2 is Tucker saying to Lauren Duca of Teen Vogue that you should stick to thigh-high boots. And number 1 is hit the road, Jack, you're gone, Tucker, for now.
Same top 5 as me.
Okay, I was surprised you were able to do that so quickly off the top of your head. Last thing, said we're terrible at predictions. Percentage of chance Tucker Carlson runs for president.
Oh, I think now, I'll be eager to hear your past views. I think now it's 10%, but the chance that Trump was going to win the presidency was 1%. So I'm scared of even that.
Handy over.
Jeff, thanks for being on with us, sir. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. I'm honored.
I should mention that we are coming to you from the Elser Hotel. Everyone here raving about it. Everyone who's coming through here and staying in the hotel feels a little bit differently about it than previous arrangements.
It's like being at the hotel inside of the amusement park, and the amusement park is Pete Arena. It was the best commute ever had to and from an NBA game in my entire life.
You walk across the street.
Strolled across the street.
Not a commute. I mean.
Yeah, it's really a commute.
Didn't even have enough time to stroll, probably.
We did.
Paulo has in front of him, speaking of strolling, some of Jake Plummer's mushroom bars. He's going to eat one of them now to see how this goes. Do you have any information whether this is just health or psychedelics or what might happen to you before the end of the show if you have one of the? I'm told that Amin begged Jake Plummer to send him some stuff.
Amin on air asked for a big box of stuff, and Jake Plummer. We also hired him to be our shaman at Meadowlark, which is only thing I realized that maybe Williams already had an inside track on, so apologies for maybe trampling the org chart. But this is conflicting signals insofar as it says on the back, each purchase supports responsible psychedelic research through Unlimited Sciences. And then on the front, it says that this is a functional thing that is not going to get me, psychoactively.
No psychedelic in it whatsoever. I already had one.
Okay, well then that defeats the purpose. I was hoping for a payoff.
When did you have it?
I don't want it anymore.
Like 30 minutes ago.
Sometimes it takes like 90 minutes to kick in. Yeah.
You know, he's trying to build up to this thing, and you just don't have to tell him. You just pretend and go along, and then we go on this adventure together.
Pablo just said that it had no psychedelic things.
I said that was conflicting signals, but the ASMR of me opening the
Okay, but it's useless now. There is no payoff. In fact, why don't you go eat it in the penny box?
Okay.
Whoa!
Wow.
Not my fault.
It wasn't Pop's fault.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I am
Trying to
not
help
going to
the
get
show.
any payoff from the hang of the psychedelic, so I remove him, and I will have a much better story in his place. You guys, I don't know if you know the story of 33-year-old Drew Maggi. The Pirates are the most surprising story in baseball early season. They are somehow, I think it's 9 or 10 games over 500.
The Bucks.
And Drew Maggi, if you did not see this viral video of his long-winded manager in the minor leagues giving a very long speech that ended with telling Drew Maggi that he is going to the major leagues after 13 years in the minor league. It is a fun story. It's the Crash Davis story, Stugotz, because the minor leagues are so tough. We have read recently about finally minor leaguers getting some money, and even that maximum money in AAA is $37,000 a year. So super happy for Drew, and thanks for being on with us. Let's just play the video real quick of the long-winded manager prizing Drew Maggi in the clubhouse.
That I get to promote my first person to the major leagues, and someone is tremendously important to this group, and someone that exemplified grit, a choice to continue to fight for what he wants in life, and a lot of that is having the right perspective. And so, Maggi, we get an opportunity to do our
Drew, you look stunned there in the video.
I got to be honest, not long-winded. That
it
was
was
properly
edited.
done.
No, it was edited. There was a minute and a half before that. Did you know he was talking about you in the build-up to we're going to send someone to the major leagues?
I didn't. 13 years in the minor leagues, you hear a lot of those speeches, so never, completely unexpected there.
How many years ago did you stop thinking it was about you with those kids?
Probably like 7, 8 years ago. I mean, I've seen 1,000 of those, so eventually, right there, I was thinking, all right, who's going? And then when I heard my name, it was, body numb, whole thing.
Did you think it was going to happen for you, or